Now back to the rape bill.
Sure.
Legislators went a little bit further than other states in this region
Mm-hmm.
in putting a 3-year limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 16-year-old can have sex with a 19-year-old
Right.
or a 17, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that was appropriate, or because they said that it was just a step to protect teens from super old people
Mm-hmm.
getting away with it, basically?
Right.
Do you think that that 3-year limitation was appropriate or unnecessary?
I don't know. I don't really have a comment as far as the age difference. I mean, what I think the concerns that came up, even from legislators that oppose this legislation, that change it all, is that they're worried that they're not going to be able to get to predators anymore because there may be an 18 or 19-year-old that is a predator, and I don't doubt that can happen. The important thing to note is that the prosecutors have lots of other tools in their toolbox to get at people that they think are predators. Whether or not the 3-year difference as opposed to doing it some other way is the most effective, I don't know, but I do think this was a step in the right direction.
Right. Okay. Now, there were 3 pieces of legislation that you guys were staunchly opposed to, the immigration bills. There were, I believe, 2 in the Senate and 1 in the House.
Right.
Why were you opposed to those bills?
For various reasons, and each of those bills, of course, is unique in its own way, but sort of generally speaking, the first thing when we look at bills that deal with immigration is that it's a federal issue and that it's something, while I understand the frustration that people have on this issue, it is really something that only the federal government can make, huge changes on. It's when you've got states making piecemeal changes, it sort of just confuses the issue even more. In addition, the bills that were introduced this year, one of the main focuses was sort of employer sanctions and punishing employers, and then the second part was punishing the workers themselves. And when you are punishing employers in the way that they attempted to do, and most of it was in license suspensions, there's a couple problems. One, here in Idaho, the issuing of business licenses is sort of spotty. They're not all businesses need licenses. So then you've got this law that, although as written it applies to all businesses, not all businesses get licensed. So you may have similar businesses, and one employer is getting their license suspended, the other isn't because they don't even have one. So what sort of enforcement is there for them? So it's piecemeal, and it doesn't apply to everyone in the same way. In addition, when you punish employers in any way based on sort of on hiring undocumented workers, they're even if there's no sort of malicious intent behind it, there is the potential for racial profiling. There's the potential that employers are scared. I mean, they don't want to be sanctioned, and they're not experts in immigration law and in documents that people can produce to prove that they have legal status here. So because they're afraid, this may lead them to looking at the color of the skin of someone who applies, or an accent, or what their first language is, or something. And in that case, they may just decide not to hire someone before they even sort of go through the process of trying to decide if this person has legal status or not. And I don't think it's that employers do this intentionally, or that they're bad people. It's just they're scared too, and they need to make a living during tough economic times, and they don't want to get in trouble. On the worker side, the way these bills were written, they sort of, not all of them, but 2 in particular, sort of, while setting up these sanctions for employers, they also made it fairly easy for employers to get out of any sort of enforcement. So there's different things like a good faith defense. So you basically just say, I thought that this was, a valid document, so I'm off the hook. Whereas the employee has no such defense, and they're not. While technically yes, if you use a false identification to get a job, that you've broken a law, but it's not sort of the same type of crime that has a victim like identity theft. It's not that they're taking my ID to get credit cards, and run up debt in my name and destroy my credit, that type of thing. We've just got a person who's trying to make a living for their family. And these are people that, put a lot more into the system than they ever get from the system. Most immigrants, even documented immigrants, are not eligible for a lot of different public benefits, and I think that's sort of a misconception out there. And so these people aren't eligible for benefits, they're not accessing benefits, and even the benefits that they are eligible for, they're afraid to access because they're not sure if they're going to get in trouble. And at the same time, they're paying taxes, they're paying into the system through their payroll. So it's punishing people who aren't really doing anything but trying to make a living for their family. So there's various issues, but those are sort of some of the common ones. One of the bills that was really expansive and broad-reaching was Senate Bill 1303, and that had sort of even more to it, like no driver's license tests in languages other than English, and no interpretive, no interpreting of the test or of anything dealing with driver's licenses. And that makes it harder for documented immigrants and refugees to access services that they're eligible for, to get driver's licenses, to become, contributing members of the community. And so that's just another, that there are many, parts to that bill, but that's just another unique piece that was